What's up, guys? It's our NSL Weekly podcast. As we've said before, we're doing it Tuesdays at 9:30, and we've held pretty strong to that for the last month. I believe me and Rabbit and Josh have been on here every Tuesdays at 9:30. We'd like a little bit more interaction from the y'all. That's fine. Today we got a special guest on, Matt from League Crawler. Some of y'all might remember League Crawler. We're actually a member of them. We found a couple people on there about 2 years ago. We haven't had a need to find people in a while, so we haven't really been on there. But Matt, go ahead and tell us, for anybody who doesn't know, new to our league or whatever, what League Crawler is exactly.
Yeah. Hey, well, again, thanks for having me on. My name is Matt, and I'm the founder, CEO, whatever you want to call it for League Crawler. I just pretty much do all of it, except for some of the newer stuff, which I'll tell you about here in a second. But so League Crawler is a place for gamers to kind of connect to one another. Started it back in 2014, way before Discord and some of these different things that were out there for recruiting existed. And we've been kind of like one of the biggest places for recruiting. You can kind of go on and look for a league on there. You can promote for your league. We get a lot of Twitter interaction where we're retweeting things for leagues, whether it's a graphic or a game of the week, different things like that. So really, we're just about connecting people to good leagues. And so if you're looking for a league, I encourage you to check us out on the website at leaguecrawler.com or jump in our Discord. But yeah, we're all about that, and a lot of it is about just promoting people. You guys checked out our it was a podcast for about 25 weeks or so, and then we switched over to a live show. So that's been kind of new for us. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet or not, but that's been new this year for us and been pretty cool.
We haven't.
Yeah, I saw you.
I haven't.
Go ahead.
What do you talk about in it? What's the topics?
Yeah, it's exciting. So I completely overhauled the website in January. That, like, from top to bottom, everything's new. Big investment for me, and just really hoping it pays off. It's a lot more flexible, but along the way, there's a guy in the community. He's from the SPA League. His name is Stradamus. Really cool guy, big Cardinals fan out in Arizona. And he's like, man, I'd love to do a podcast, and just talk to people in the community. I'm like, that's exactly what we would like. And he put it all together, and I get him a guest every week. And he's talked to all kinds of people. So it's not just people from the Madden community. We had the lead developer from Axis Football on last week talking about the new game. We had Rex Dixon on, I don't know, about 10 weeks ago, something like that.
Right.
And then we had leagues on XCFL and of course, Soden, and good friends with Nate from OMFL, those kind of guys. But then just other people in the community. We had an NCAA defensive end that was getting ready to play for Western Michigan come on and talk about, how realistic Madden is and isn't, and stuff like that. It's been cool. We're like 35 weeks in, and it's been really exciting. So yeah, that's new for us and been really cool.
That sounds actually pretty interesting. I'm going to have to check that out. Well, for anybody in our league, we'll make sure we link all this stuff to you guys in the chat. If you're not in our league and seeing this, I'm sure Rabbit will link some of this down in the YouTube video. Yeah, that sounds all pretty awesome. Rex Dixon, if I got about 30 minutes with him, that'd be pretty interesting. I got some questions I would like to ask him, but I feel like he would only answer certain ones. But
he was a really, really cool guy. And it's such an interesting thing for me because, like, I've been doing this since 2014. I mean, I don't know how long you guys have been with us or been aware of us, but I started as a former commish looking for players. And I thought, man, there's got to be a place where commissioners who really care about leagues can go and promote their stuff and find people without having to, like, wade through the dregs of Madden forums, and get all that riffraff and stuff, again, way before Discord. And so when the podcast came together, like, I'm not on the show at all. Like, I turn it over completely over to Mo, and he does the research and does all of his stuff, and then he gets them on, and then I listen to it just like everybody else does. We live stream it on Twitch, usually sometime midweek, and then it goes up on Friday. And but it's cool. Rex was a good guy though. Like, he, you could go back in time and look at some of the previous Maddens and have a lot of questions and things, but He was a really good dude, very thoughtful, and I encourage you guys, if you haven't checked it out, to go back and look at it. It's like week 15 or something like that. I think we did it, and
I'm gonna have to listen to that.
he was really cool. Had a lot of good things to say about Madden, a lot of interesting things to say about what's happening now versus in the past, the different things, and it just a lot of perspective. I think it's probably going to be his last time he ever talks about Madden, if I had to guess. It sounded like a song for him.
Well, I remember we had Ian Cummings in charge, and that was a disaster. That whole, I think it was like 4 years of that dude. He didn't even like football. He's a soccer fan, and I was like, y'all put a soccer fan in charge of Madden. I don't even remember Ian Cummings. It was a while ago. Let me ask you this: do you have your own Madden league still? You said you started it for that. Is that something you're still doing?
I have not played in a Madden league since 2014.
Gee. So you just help other people connect. You have no interest in playing the game. Okay.
I have a little bit of interest in playing offline franchise just by myself, but when I started League Crawler back in 2014, it consumed so much of my time just trying to figure it out. Like, I'm not a developer. I'm not any of this stuff. Like, this isn't my job. You know, I just do this for fun. And I really wanted to do it as a project to see if I could do it. And then it kind of took a while to figure out how to do it. Then when it kind of took off a little bit, it was just like, I don't have time to do anything else like playing a league. And I also wanted it to always be completely fair and unbiased. And so I always thought, you know, if I ever joined a league, I'd probably be tempted to interject, you know, my own stuff in there. And never wanted to do that. So I just always stay clear of playing. So, yeah.
Is it only Madden, or do you also promote 2K leagues? I know MLB The Show doesn't really have a league anymore, but is it only Madden?
No, it's not. It's I mean, in fairness, I have not been able to find a great footing with anybody in the 2K community or anything else. But we have set up for 2K, you know, like pro-am teams where you can go on there and you can, you know, put all your players on there and your highlight videos and all of your contact information, just like you do for Madden. You know, you can put in a 2K league. You can do that too. We also have support for all the first-person shooter games. For whatever reason, we've just never been able to really attract that audience, you know, and get a footing there. So who knows, man? Maybe this show will be the catalyst. We'll get them from here, at least get started.
Well, I don't know if you've ever played, though you probably haven't. You're consumed, but 2K's franchise is actually not bad. Has a lot of the stuff Madden is missing. One of the main issues I think where 2K leagues don't really survive as long as their schedule, the way it's scheduled. You know, some teams play 3 times in a week, some teams play none. So it's really hard to make sure everybody's on the same page moving forward. We've tried a NBA league a few times, and it's just hard to get everybody playing the same game. And you try and make a schedule, it's like, hey, play this game by Wednesday, and then that's fine, but that's a lot of work to do every single advance where you got to make sure everybody's playing between 1 and 2 games. So I think if they made something a little bit more kind of like weekly, where, all right, week 1, week 2, especially when you're running lower seasons, like 32-week game seasons, I think it would be, I know it's not realistic per se, but I think it would be better for gameplay wise. So
yeah, that makes sense. I don't really thought about it that way, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we tried an MLB league too. People will not, the fact that you can't develop your players kills it. People will not stay. I think I replaced over 100 people since it came to Xbox, and I just like, all right, I can't keep replacing. Josh was in it. Rabbit was in it for a while. Over 100 people I replaced. I tried. I really did, and I fought it. But after 100, like after you get past like 50 people replaced, it's just like, man, you know, y'all play one game and dip, you lose by 2 runs and you're out, man. It's over. It's tough.
There were a couple like the enthusiasm for MLB The Show leagues this year was like at an all-time high. Like I had never seen so many posts about people trying to start them, and then it all just kind of fizzled, you know, and probably for all the reasons you just mentioned.
Yeah, if you could have developed players, they need to add just a little bit more. But I know the focus is on Diamond Dynasty because that's the money maker. Unfortunately.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts? You said you started it for a sim community or just any communities? Do you have a preference here? for?
I lean towards sim. I mean, I've never been like a competitive gamer guy. I've never been a MUT player, any of that stuff. So it's always been sim. I mean, the league that I started, years ago, it was a sim league. We had, pretty extensive rule system and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely lean toward the sim community for sure. But the definition of it is so vague anymore. I think that it's hard to even tell people what sim really means, right?
Yeah, you get a lot of arguments like, oh, well, real life it was working, they wouldn't stop running it, and like, yeah, but in real life that cornerback would learn.
Right.
Well, some of them, not the Vikings cornerbacks. We never learn.
That pass like runs 25 yards behind the line of scrimmage and like throws the ball behind his back or something, and it's like, see, it happened in the game. Mahomes did it once.
Yeah.
Total sim.
Yeah, the linebackers. I think Eric intercepted somebody intercepted a ball that was like, it was a crazy once in a lifetime linebacker interception. Like, look, that's normal. Like, yeah, but Warren Burks with 29 in the season isn't.
Right.
Like,
They're not doing that every single game. So
yeah, or every season, once a season maybe. Like these
Right.
guys are. That being said, how long have you played Madden?
The first Madden that I remember playing a lot of was Madden 98. So I'll be 40 next June.
That
And
was my first year too.
Mine too. Mine was 97 actually.
yeah, I remember in Madden 98, I remember the Dallas Cowboys were my favorite team at the time because my brother was a Cowboys fan. I live in Cincinnati, so, I live or die by them now, but, whatever.
You're more face, man. Look like the real deal so far.
But yeah, I remember 98, like you could like change the divisions, like which teams the divisions played in or whatever. And there's a lot of like weird, cool little setup things, and man, I just played the crap out of that game. Yeah, that was fun. And but yeah, every game since then, I think I probably bought. Most of them were on PC until, gosh, I don't know, PlayStation 1, N64 or something like that, maybe.
Yeah. I'd say like I said, my first one was 97. Actually, it wasn't even on PlayStation. It was on the SNES. I was upset because I bought 97, like it was in the middle of 98 season. So the Vikings drafted Randy Moss, but the 97 Vikings didn't have Randy Moss. So I didn't get Randy Moss on my team. But my dad was like, well, you spent all your, you only had $30. You had to get the 97 version. You can't get the 98 version. After that, I got a job. I was good. But yeah, I remember that was a fun time in Madden. So you played it you've been in the game for a while. We all have. I think Rabbit, Josh, we've all been playing Madden for a long time. We've lived through the up and coming of Madden, including the competition with ESPN 2K5, or all the other ones, Game Day, the Quarterback Club. Where do you think Madden is right now on a video game scale? Not necessarily a sports game scale, but if you were to judge it based off of a Call of Duty or another game, just a video game in today's market, like if you were to judge Control that came out as a 10 out of 10 because of how it played or whatever, where would you judge Madden as a video game, not necessarily just a sports one?
Man, that's a great question. Because it's hard to disconnect history, from today. Because I had an answer that I was formulating while you were saying that, and then you said Control, right? And so Control is one off. It just came out. It's a standalone game, right? So you experience it, and that's it, right? Whereas Madden, it's like, okay, if I was a first time gamer and I just picked up Madden for the first time, for example, last year, Madden 21, I have a nephew who is, I think he's 8. It was the first Madden he ever owned. I Madden last year because I didn't do anything CFM, right? And I finally bought it because he wanted to play me, my 8-year-old nephew, which, by the way, I only played him once and he freaking beat me in the fourth quarter on a stupid whatever. And for him, if he's looking at Madden and he doesn't know the history, I mean, he thinks it's the greatest game in the world, right? And if you look at it from the lens of just picking it up and playing it as just a game, I think it can hold water that way, right? But for those of us that know, we know, right? And that's kind of the problem. So when you compare it to something like Control, or you compare it to something like, I don't know, The Last of Us, or to Call of Duty or anything like that. Call of Duty is not even fair too, because it's got history and it's all good for the most part.
And
Um,
Call of Duty is 3 different developers. So
I would say Madden, I think, if you're just picking it up for the first time, you're going to go, wow, this is a great game. But any other person, I think you would just say it's just substandard. Like it just doesn't, it doesn't live up to the potential that it should. It doesn't make it bad. It doesn't make it good. Hopefully there's potential for it with what they're, doing and trying to do right now. But I mean, ultimately, I don't think you can look at it right now as anything less than a 5, on scale, at most,
that's a good argument. The fact that a lot of people don't remember the Madden ESPN Wars, which I think was probably the pinnacle, and they even had NCAA in there. All 3 games were at the top notch. When I criticized Madden at the time, I actually liked Madden 05 better than ESPN 2K5, but I liked a lot of the things ESPN 2K5 did. I just probably was more familiar with Madden growing up, but I definitely played a lot of ESPN 2K5, and it did so many things better than Madden at the time, but Madden did some things better too. And a lot of people forget that. They might have lost some of that, but they definitely had it at the time. So a lot of people don't realize that. I think a lot of the new kids don't realize we saw on a PS2 and an original Xbox things that we're not seeing today, and that's upsetting to somebody like me or Josh or Rabbit, I think.
Right. Yeah, I mean, especially just because that they don't have that competition like we've talked about before, and they can focus on what's really making the money, and that's just mud. So they're not going to put any kind of resources. I think this year they attempted to, but obviously fell flat. I think if they would have launched with the new scouting with the game and it worked well, I think that would have been a huge plus for the franchise community. But since they've now dropped the ball, and us dedicated franchisers, we're not going to start unless we have that. Now we've lost. Most people are going to lose at least a season to it. If not, because I don't know about the rest of the folks in the community outside of our league, but it comes around May or June and we're burnt out and we can't. We could try to push through to that 6th season, or in this year a 5th season, but you get low play rates. So, but I think if they could have done that, it would have been a lot better than, because we'll be on like Madden 19.4.5 now. I mean, they've just been adding on little bitty things here and there and focusing on MUT. So, but yeah, I agree with you, Matt. That's what I was thinking when July was asking the question. If I was a kid and I never played games before, or an adult that never played Madden before, and I picked this up, I was like, wow, this is so realistic. But after about a month of playing, I probably would say, well, that defense, what's wrong with the defense there? Because you kind of start to see some of the flaws in the game.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate. Because this year I think was supposed to be the year for CFM, right? This was the year that they finally listened and they were going to do all this stuff, right? And Mo, the guy that does our podcast, he's really big on, hey, look, this isn't the year for it. Like, this is the groundwork. Next year's game and the game after it, right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But just I don't know. I just wish that they would have told people, like, when you put out a notice that says, hey, the scouting is going to be out in September, people that bought the game in August said, okay, I'm going to wait till September to start my league, but I'll go ahead and buy the game now so I can kind of start testing it and try to figure out what's going on, right? And then they come out and say it's October. I think some of those people would have said, you know what, I'd have saved my $60 and I'd have bought it in September,
Yeah.
And from a revenue perspective, there's a lot of dollars that Madden recorded on their books in August based on kind of the assumption that some of those features were going to be there in September, and they weren't. So I don't know. That's just, to me, that seems a little shady. And I don't like that kind of stuff, because I mean, I would have waited. I'd have waited, another month to buy it. I'm like, well, it's going to be out in October. I think a lot of guys would have. So I don't know. It's just unfortunate. I don't know. Tell us more rather than less. Tell us everything you have. Don't make us wait. Just tell us everything, even if it's bad news. And the community, I think, would rather be informed than not. And, because the waiting sucks worse than being told it's going to be another month.
Yeah, right.
It was 2 weeks, before the September update was supposed to be coming out, that it was going to be delayed until October. I think people would have been like, well, that sucks, but at least they told us.
Yeah, and then you have a choice to make. We usually start at the week 1 roster update, so the Wednesday before the season.
then we would have had a choice that Wednesday. But we waited for the middle of September. We already lost 2 weeks. So now we're like, oh, well, screw it. We'll wait the rest of the time. Then we already waited. We already lost 2 weeks. And might as well lose another 4.
And some leagues just said, hey, well, you know what? We're just going to start without it. Like, one of the coolest things about our podcast / live show that we do is, talking to leagues. And the one consistent thing that I've heard from every league, and I've got notes that I've written down from all these guys, is I would say every league that's out there, they do it because of the community. They invest the $60 every year because of the community rather than what Madden gives to them. The newest game is really just the vehicle to push their community forward another year, and that's the thing that they care the most about. And so while it's a bummer that Madden doesn't, live up to its end of the bargain, it's really not about that for a lot of these guys. It's really more about, it just being, it's almost like the cracker is the vehicle to get the dip to your mouth, It's like, no, it's not about the cracker anymore. It's about the dip.
I think that's 100% accurate for probably most of our league. I'm not gonna speak for Rabbit and Josh, but if the league wasn't there, Madden isn't getting put on my console. There's too many other good games out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all. And I think that a lot of folks, have said that in our chat in the past, that it is all about the community, and it's just a way for us to pass time and complain about a game. But you definitely have that, and that's a good thing. And like you say, I'm sure that half of us in our league, wouldn't pick up the game if it wasn't for. I know I personally wouldn't.
Yeah,
getting too old for this shit.
Actually, I think the developers, like the individual developers that get hate from people, because I work for a software company, and I know it's like, okay, those guys that are developing stuff, they're just doing what they're told to do. They agree, they may not agree. They're just trying to put it together best they can. People that are higher up, I think, that are, telling them what to do, that deserve
I
some.
agree with that, but who is higher up not understanding that if you put out a good game, you're gonna make more money? Every game that's scored high, and like 2K this year, everybody loves it. It's outselling Madden. 2K, Madden developer said that 2K is selling more than Madden. The NFL is way more popular than the NBA.
Right.
That's a huge deal. Like, so, and I don't know if you remember. I don't remember the name of the developer. He left 2K to go to live, and he was like, they don't even care. They just want to push. They don't care about the sport. They just want to push the money. So he had to leave and come back to 2K because it just wasn't working. And I wonder, like, who is in charge who doesn't understand that if you put out a product that's elite, you're going to get not only the people playing MUT, because you're going to get the Madden tournaments, the real ones, not the ones you host and act like they're big deals. Real Madden tournaments, like the fighting tournaments. You'll get that. You'll get sponsorships. People promoting the game. I just don't understand where your thought process is. Let's do some minuscule changes and we'll be all right. We're making money hand over fist. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, you could be making so much more money. And once you get the game to where it needs to be, you don't even need to invest the same amount. Because there's only so many things you can do in a franchise mode before it's a legit franchise mode.
Right. Yeah, I just had wished that they would have, I was harping big last year on, I just think that they needed a roadmap, 10 years ago and said, this is where we want to go. But instead it's this cycle of, put this in, take it out, put this in, take it out, put this in, take it out, that kind of stuff. And, face of the franchise and all this bull crap. I don't know. To me, none of that really makes a whole lot of sense.
Nobody plays face of the franchise. Nobody.
Yeah, long shot. I used to call that one shot because everybody plays it one time. And, all the same thing, but it's all back of the box things. But one of the things is part of, like, I think what makes it so difficult for them to develop Madden right now is that they kind of tied themselves to Frostbite, and it's just not a good engine, and it's so costly for them to change things now because Frostbite is so intertwined with everything that they do. That's part of what makes it so difficult for them to develop stuff. You're literally just unpeeling layers of an onion to try to, get this thing done. So I like to see them just rewrite it or do a subscription model and just, let us pay. I don't care. Just constantly develop it and release stuff. Make it like a Hearthstone or something. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that the next gen would have been a perfect time to get out of that that whole frostbite. I'm sorry, frostbite issue. Frostbite was made for first person shooters. How does that translate into 11 on 11?
Yeah, maybe Backbreaker was supposed to use that or something.
I think Josh
Yeah.
Josh has like very bad views on frostbite. Was it you, Josh?
Yeah, I don't care for it. I don't think anybody likes it.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, you have so much technology these days, and you have so many physics, and you're still running off of canned animations from PlayStation 1. I'd be willing to bet there is at least a little bit of code in there from PlayStation 1 still in the game now.
Yeah.
FIFA players don't even like it because it was a FIFA engine before Madden.
Yeah. So who knows? I don't know. I would like to think that they're trying, right now. I mean, they're at least not silent about it anymore. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, that gives me a little bit of hope. And I think CFM players for the last 5 years, all they were asking for was hope, right? But I don't know. It feels like when you're a Bengals fan, like I am, it's like no sooner you've got some hope a little bit, your quarterback gets, full ACL in week 7 or whatever it was. And that's kind of what it feels like being a Madden fan right now.
I just don't understand. I don't understand EA from the top to begin with. EA right now reminds me of Xbox back on the Xbox One days, where they didn't understand their consumers, but they're still making money. You see, when EA put the guy who's in charge now, or Xbox put the guy who's in charge now, it's taken off. Xbox is way bigger than it ever was. And, you got to give the consumers what they want. I don't understand who's at the top. They obviously aren't video game players. And it's not just Madden. Live got killed. Soccer has no competition, really. I guess they have that one. Can't remember the name of PES. NHL is good, but they give that the least amount. The NHL developers, I got to give them props. They put out a quality game with the least amount of money.
Yeah, they do make a solid product over there.
And then even their shooters, like they killed the Star Wars. They had that, like, Disney was like, hey, you can have the whole Star Wars, and they did so badly on it, they took it and started giving it to other people again. Like, that's crazy. How are you guys? And then the one game they made that was popular was a love letter from the developers, was Apex, and free to play, and the developers loved it, and they made it themselves. And I thought EA would be like, hey, you just put out a good product and people will play it, you can make money. I still don't see that in there. It took a whole hashtag fix Madden franchise to get anything done.
Yeah, we're not going to see anything that's drastically different unless they take a year off. And I think because it's not enough turnaround time from 1 year to develop and rehash this game from the ground up. And it was going to take them to do that to really change what we're in. Because like you said, it's just peeling off a layer and putting something else on top of it, and code not working, breaking. And
they're not necessarily pulling off layers, as we could tell with the franchise coach that pops up there. They might just be putting more layers on top.
Right. But, I think, that especially that middle year, whatever they wanted to call it, where, it's just a roster update and you pay for the roster update, which is basically what we're doing now anyways. They should just do that. And, if you want the 2022 rosters, you got to pay $20, $25. I think the vast majority of players and people that, especially that are paying in MUT and things like that, would pay for that. And continue to put out content for current, but spend the majority of your time and dev hours on creating something ground up and spend 2 years on it and release it. I think that's the only way we're going to get a drastically different game. So
I agree. I don't think they're ever going to do it though. I think they're from a financial perspective, they're tied to that bump every year. I bet you, if I had to guess, I would think Madden probably covers 30% of their revenue stream. I bet you it's the cash. It's Black Friday, for them, right? I mean, it literally just probably catapults them. I would be curious when their financial or their fiscal year starts. It probably starts mid-cycle or somewhere right around the launch of Madden. You know, they
Yeah,
either
Madden and FIFA.
strong, start their year strong with it.
Yeah, that's true. How do you feel? I know what's going on 30 minutes here. We'll try and wrap it up. I'm not going to hold you all day. ESPN coming out with a game. I know it's going to be arcade, but a lot of people are thinking that it might be maybe a footstep into competition again in one day, especially with EA paying these insane prices to hold the what do you call it? The Madden license. Yeah, they're paying. Well, do you think that 2K could possibly one day come back, or how do you?
Yeah, I think no matter, I would venture to say, unless 2K comes out with like a mobile game or something, right? If it's a console game of any sort and it has an NFL logo on it, I think it's going to sell off the shelves. People might return it 5 days later if it sucks, but I think people are going to be so excited. I mean, I would venture to say every person in the Madden community will buy a copy just to stick it to Madden, you know? And I honestly, I really, really wish everybody would do that with the other games that are out there too. If you go back and listen to our podcast with Danny from Axis Football, I mean, he'll be the first guy to tell you his mode goes with Madden any day, and it will blow Madden out of the water. But he'll tell you, he'll be like, look, there are other modes that we have, or other pieces of our game, gameplay included, right? That's still lacking. But he's like, every year we're taking a step forward, and the first thing that we do is listen to the community. I mean, if I go back and I look at my notes from his thing, these are the notes I took from his podcast. 3 pillars of Axis Football: franchise, gameplay, and customization. Right, and they listen to the community to get that feedback. And so I think if 2K comes out with anything that's relatively worthwhile, I think people are going to buy it in droves, and I think the NFL is going to pay attention. And when it comes time to renew, they might just say, you know what, let's give it to both of you guys and let you guys fight it out. You know, and so, but in the meantime, I think it's really important for people to buy any competition that's out there. You know, and just support it.
And Access is $20 on Xbox right now for anybody.
$20, even if you never play it, just buy it. Give it to somebody. Give it to them as a gift. I mean, if you hate Axis Football, give it to somebody as a gag gift, for crying out loud. But at least it's something that, not that it's a gag gift, you know what I'm saying. But even if you hate it, buy it for somebody else, knowing it's a fuel to the fire to hopefully drive Madden to be better. You know, if you love Madden that much, I would say, support competition for it. You know, that's I don't know. I'm preaching now, but whatever.
Preaching to the choir. It's all good.
Yeah,
No, we've all agreed with Josh. You haven't really said that much. You got some questions? Josh, you there? Josh ran away on us. Rabbit, you got any questions for him?
No, I mean, I just it's really good to have you on and talk with you. I've been a fan. I'm a dabble in graphic arts and do some like player edits and stuff like that. So I've enjoyed. I'm a subscriber to your emails, and I enjoy looking at the different submissions and things that you guys have and things like that. So I appreciate all you do and your support for the community, and I'm sure the community appreciates that as well. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, honestly, it's our pleasure. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. It's just been a lot of fun. So, yeah, I would really encourage you guys, check out the podcast. And I had you actually, I discovered you really can't see my notes if I put them up to the screen. Sorry about that, but you're on my list to reach out to. I've got, I don't know, probably 40 different names on my list to reach out to. So we'll get you guys on eventually. Cool. And hey, and we also potentially have a sponsor on our podcast. So Manscaped reached out to us, which is hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah, so they're like, hey, we'll try you guys out for a month and see what the feedback looks like, and then we'll kind of go from there. So that was exciting. I lead worship at my church, and I was in the middle of doing a song, and I looked down on my phone's got an email, and I've got an email from Manscaped. I'm like, what in the world? And I'm like, hey, I saw your podcast, and we like it. We want to talk to you guys. I'm like, that's cool. And I'm just going back to singing worship songs.
Speaking of
awesome.
sponsors, we probably should have plugged ours way before this. East Coast Breaks. Anybody in the league or been following our league has been noticing. He's been posting a lot. Rabbit, go ahead and say a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I've got a good friend that started a card breaking business or online breaks of, buying into high dollar boxes, buy a slot, get a random slot, things like that, or buy your own box and break it online for you. So he's helping support our league as well. So you can catch him at eastcoastbreaks.net for any kind of sports or hobby cards. So
he has a free buy. It's not a buy-in, a free. What is it ran through? League? No.
FanDuel. I think he does a weekly like 50 to 100 person contest for Sundays for a daily fantasy for football, and the top 3 people get free packs. He just it just giving. Go ahead.
He's also started something where he's doing fantasy through the cards you open. I watched part of this week. Somebody picked Kirk Cousins. Did they start him?
Unfortunately, that's funny. That was me. So, basically you buy a box of cards. I think it was like 30, $40, and he opens 2 packs from them, and you get to pick 3 fantasy players from those 2 packs, whatever your 3 best players are. And then you're slotted against somebody else that does the same thing, buys a random box, opens 2 random packs, and they select 3 people. Unfortunately, I had AJ Brown hurt in the first quarter, Kirk Cousins, and Gronk, I think, also hurt. Kirk did great, but I think I was up against Matt Stafford and somebody else, and by that point it was over. But how it works is whoever has the fantasy points wins the cards. So you're basically buying a box of cards each, and then whoever wins that matchup wins both sets of cards, and while the other person has to pay for it, and then they move on, and there's different prizes and stuff for later on. So I think it's like a 3 or 4 week thing. It's kind of like a championship, but he's very creative and doing things. He's a gas to watch too. It's funny. I started out and helped him out get started last year, and would go over to his house. He's a in real life friend of mine. But it's fun, and like I say, eastcoastbreaks.net or East Coast Breaks on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, all your favorite streaming platforms. So
I should have of this year, I've never heard of that concept before. So this is for people that are really about collecting high dollar, like actual in real life cards, right?
Yeah, and because like some of your larger boxes, I mean, there are boxes of cards that cost thousands of dollars for one box, and they may only come with like 8 cards, but 5 or 6 of those are autographed or patches, or really rare, numbered to 1 of 1, 1 of 10, whatever. So you buy, for that $1,000 box of cards, he sells 1 spot for $100, and then you're randomly selected for different teams, different divisions. So if I got 49ers, I would get whatever 49ers cards came out of that box or packs. So with this year's crop of cards, you're looking for Niners, Bears to get Lance Fields, and all the hot rookies and things like that. So it really took off when COVID started, and there's been some, Still City Collectibles is a big group out of Pittsburgh that's been doing it for years. So it kind of took off with COVID, people wanting things, something to do, something to keep them excited, and so it's been fun.
And it's not just NFL cards, right?
It's all kinds of cards. Star Wars cards are really hot right now. And I'm really into that as well. I'm a big nerd too, so it's a little bit of everything. Pokemon. He doesn't really break too many Pokemon cards, but you can buy, the cards on his site if you want to buy the whole box, and he can just ship them to you. But yeah, it's hobby cards and all kinds of sports cards.
It's like real life MUT.
Kinda, yeah.
So
get something at the end of the day for it, right? You actually have something in your hands.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully he'll be on our podcast next week, so we won't have to remember to plug him earlier, because he should be here from the rip. Josh, are you in yet?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Did you have any questions before we go, Josh?
No, you guys did a great job there. I didn't even have to speak. It was awesome. We have a great host here with July. Man, I appreciate you coming on and speaking about your website and your Discord server. We're going to try to be a lot more active on Twitter and put it through your tweet channel, and we'll even put this podcast on the league TV. So anybody maybe that checks those out, they can take a look at our league, see what we're about. Maybe we can recruit through that avenue. But yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. If you guys post it somewhere like YouTube or something that I can get, I'll post it on my stuff and I'll send it out to our email and everything, because I appreciate you guys having me on. I love doing this kind of stuff. So I love meeting you guys and talking to you. So very happy to do it. You guys are really good people, and it's always good talking to good people out there.
Well, we appreciate it, man. We took up over 40 minutes of your time. We really do appreciate it, especially when we're trying to kill time for this scouting update. But appreciate it, man. Like I said, I can't thank you enough. 40 minutes is a lot of time. So, and I know you're a busy man, so appreciate it.
Anytime, guys. Hey, thanks. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Peace.